This is Why Am I a Mets Fan? A podcast hosted by Samantha Croston and Ashley Wenskoski.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into another edition of the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. That's Ashley Wenskoski. I'm Samantha Croston, and we are two sports reporters based in Syracuse. Be sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. It really helps us out when you do that. We're joining you after the Mets just signed Devin Williams, and we have, you guessed it, some thoughts about it. Hi, Ashley.
Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns. Yes, happy Thanksgiving to all who celebrate. We took a minute there, and the Mets are making some moves before the winter meetings this weekend. The Mets on Monday signed Devin Williams to a 3-year deal that guarantees more than $50 million. It has no opt-outs, no options. Devin Williams is going to be a Met for the next 3 years, maybe in the 9th inning, depending on what happens with Edwin Diaz, which I'll get to in a moment, but I'm trying to separate the two in my head, okay? I'm making a conscious effort.
And I understand that, and I appreciate that, because those are two different things. It goes back to the discussion we were having last week, that a lot of the moves that the Mets are making, it's more of a chess game, and it's all dependent on, well, what's the next move going to be?
Yeah.
That was true with Nimmo, and it's true here. Devin Williams' stats: 2020 NL Rookie of the Year, 2-time Trevor Hoffman NL Reliever of the Year, 465 strikeouts in about 300 career innings pitched, and the only reliever with a better strikeout percentage in the second half of last season was Mason Miller. Williams struck out 39.3% of hitters. So those are the good things.
Yeah.
But you ask our director, who's a Yankees fan, you ask some other people, it's not all roses. There are some thorns as well.
Well, last year was really the tale of sort of two different halves for him. This is astounding. Through August 8th last year, he had a 5.73 ERA. After August 8th, 22 innings, 2.05 ERA, 44% strikeout rate. He did not allow a home run over his final 23 appearances of the season. So clearly there was some improvement there as the year went on. I mean, obviously, he's a unique guy in terms of release pitchers go. He's got that unique arm angle. His stuff is borderline elite when he's on, but as many of these relief pitchers go, he's not always on, right? We've seen that with the best of the best, the cream of the crop, Edwin Diaz. I mean, it was his first year away from Milwaukee, and he had a 4.79 ERA in total. Does that alarm me a little bit? Maybe. I don't know. He made up for it towards the beginning of the year, or at the end of the year. I guess that's good to see. But nearly every team was in on him. I mean, guys, we saw Edwin Diaz have a down year like this, right? Relief pitchers like this can certainly have bounce-back seasons. Do I find it a little funny that the guy who made the Yankees change a 100-year-old's facial hair policy bounced after a year? Absolutely, yes, I do. That seems like some bad karma. But yeah,
Not a stat, but important information nonetheless.
Important to note. Do I like the addition? Yes, I do. Especially if he's going to be the 8th inning guy. If you're going to go out and sign Diaz, and then you're going to have this duo for your 8th and 9th innings, I'm all in on it. I've never seen anything better in my life. But if this is the Diaz replacement, I'm upset, I'm wary, and I don't really feel so good.
Right. It's like you like the addition. We need to see, is there going to be a subtraction here? That was everyone on Twitter who's a Mets fan and beyond. That was their first reaction. Well, what's the situation here? Is this an addition or a replacement? And we are going to save our emotions until we know which one of those two it is. The good news is that Anthony DiComo tweeted shortly after understanding what people were feeling here that the Mets are still interested in re-signing Edwin Diaz even after agreeing to terms with Devin Williams per a source. Williams is open to pitching in a setup role. Both of those things are actually good news.
Yeah.
It's the fact that Williams is open to it, and I'm assuming that was a part of the deal when they signed him, and the fact that the Mets are not out on Edwin Diaz, because I agree with you, there is a very big difference between Williams being your 7th or 8th inning guy and being the closer, especially when, or I guess I should say, if Diaz isn't with us, that also means that he's going to be somewhere else. You don't want Diaz somewhere that is not within the Mets organization. In my opinion, it is far more important than even Pete Alonso. This is the deal you have to get done. This is the guy you have to bring back.
I completely agree. Even the thought of Edwin Diaz pitching for an opponent that you could be facing in the playoffs, I mean, not to say the Dodgers, I don't really think but think about Edwin Diaz coming out of the tunnel for the Dodgers. Think about Edwin Diaz coming out of the tunnel for the Phillies. Any team that you need to beat on your way to the World Series, that's going to be a problem for you if he is on an opposing team. I don't know on this, though. See, this is where I'm getting tripped up. My brain tells me that this means they're out on Diaz, but my heart obviously hopes not. It's like the tale of two. Because you're telling me that they're going to pay Devin Williams $50 million over this contract, and then David Stern is going to turn around and hand Edwin another $100 million or close to it. You're telling me that this offseason, they're prepared to allocate $150 million on the books to 2 relief pitchers? When they, let alone Alonso, Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger, who the hell else. That, to me, feels far-fetched when you know the dollar amount that Diaz is going to sign for.
I mean, they're spending that much or more on a casino. No.
The casino. No, it's the casino.
The casino. It is the casino of it all. Honestly, that's going to be great for Citi Field, by the way.
We're going to talk about that.
Good job, Steve Cohen. Good job with the casino. You're going to see so many Mets fans losing more of their money because the Mets are down to the Braves.
Even
like
more
3-0.
than they already lose at Citi Field.
Completely.
But you know what? Turn Queens into like a fan experience. I'm all for that.
Yeah, I think that was a really good idea.
Yeah.
So shout out to Cohen for that. I know what you mean, especially because of the way that Stearns has handled things in the offseason, his approach, the fact that he does get a little weary when it comes to money. But this is the thing. How many times have we sat at this table and said that their approach and strategy needs to be different this year? And I don't know for sure, but just by the looks of it, the Nimmo trade, which was clearly a statement, to me, it just feels like Nimmo trading for Semien. Again, we talked all about this on our episode, so check that out because we did a Brandon Nimmo episode. But the point is, you knew that trade only made sense if there was more coming in. I kind of do feel in my heart of hearts that the Mets are going to have a few splash moves. Like, who are they going to get another big, outfielder? Are they going to get like a Tatis Jr. or someone crazy like that? I feel like they see that the changes here have to be significant. And I'll tell you what, if they don't, and they kind of cheap out the way that they have done a few times the past few years, then I might be out on Stearns. And he is, right now at least, standing outside of the circle of trust looking in. He's not banished, but he's not squarely in the circle of trust.
Well, I agree with you, and I think a lot of Mets fans agree with you, because I think that Stearns has, and this is all ifs, okay? They could re-sign Edwin Diaz tomorrow, and then I'll eat all of these words. But if this truly is the replacement for Edwin Diaz, and Devin Williams is the closer, and they don't get Diaz, and they don't pony up the money, now you're starting to see a pattern of Stearns not really valuing at all, not to just say fan favorites or legacy, and I know all that stuff doesn't matter, and I also agree that there needs to be a huge shakeup next year. I'm completely on board with that. Fine, send Brandon Nimmo to Texas if that's what you need to do. But I guess what I'm saying is if Diaz walks, who the hell knows what's going to happen with Alonso? Now you're starting, we already went through last year. We saw the problems that not re-signing guys like Jose Iglesias, JD Martinez kind of spelled. Now you're seeing a pattern of him really not valuing chemistry and culture, maybe in a way that he should with the fans, not with the clubhouse. I understand you ship Brandon Nimmo off. You're probably going to trade McNeil. There have been some changes culture-wise. But I guess what I'm saying is I don't want him to cheap out here yet again. You signed Devin Williams, a guy who is, I guess you could say, in that elite closer category, but he's not the number 1 or the number 2 the way Edwin Diaz is, to save what, $40 million? If that ends up being the case here, it's just yet another Stearns bargain shopping experiment, which haven't been going so well. You can look at the track record.
No, they most certainly haven't, and I think that's the important part. We might be sitting here at this table having a different discussion if some of these experiments had worked out,
Frankie Montas.
You love to bring up Frankie Montas.
Never forget.
Never forget Frankie Montas, the worst failed experiment of all. Here was what Steve Gelb said on the topic for SNY last night. Giving a relief pitcher a long-term deal is risky, but when you're in the position that the Mets are in right now, with a guy as unique as Edwin Diaz, who has proven to be that guy in this city for this team, I would go that extra step to grab him. And the Mets may. It's definitely not over right now, but reading the tea leaves and looking at history, I would be somewhat surprised if they went and got Edwin Diaz back and gave him the 5 years. That means a lot coming from Steve Gelbs. I don't think he's saying that based on necessarily inside information, but the point is he is always in and around the organization. He knows how everybody's thinking and how they operate. I'm going to be pissed off if this is the way this goes. I'm going to be really effing pissed.
He ended the quote by saying, "This feels to me like Devin Williams is more the replacement," but that's just total speculation. That doesn't feel promising to me. Listen, I will love to sit here and do the Edwin Diaz re-signs episode. I'll be thrilled. But again, you just look at the logistics of it. They signed Williams to 3 years, $50 million. They're going to give Edwin another 5 years, 100, or 5 years, 90, or whatever it ends up being. I don't see it from David Stearns. I'll be pleasantly surprised if it turns out.
It's interesting because you mentioned the chemistry thing and feeling like, in some way Stearns isn't valuing what the fans want. The thing is, when it all comes down to it, what the fans want more than anything, I think, is to win.
Well, yeah.
And if you're a team like the Mets, that's the sad part of it all. Like, the Mets are such losers, historically speaking, that you don't even need to win like 3 or 5 World Series. You don't need a dynasty. You don't need a Chiefs three-peat. You need to win like 1 World Series in the next like 10 years, and everyone's going to think you're the greatest. Do you know what I mean?
David Stearns, if you're out there, your job is simple. Win the World Series and you'll be a cult hero.
Win it once, and they'll build a statue for you in the casino. The standards are actually, I think, lower than they would be for other teams.
The bar's in hell.
The bar is in hell. But honestly, it's like, it's a different situation. I only say that to say, let's say they did something really egregious and shipped off Lindor or something.
No,
I know you'd have a crash
me
out.
and my pitchfork.
I understand.
And my torch. And my horse.
But honestly, I'm not saying do that, but I'm saying I don't value what the fans want more than I value winning. I do value chemistry more, but things are different now that Soto is here. And I know you have a bullet about that, but that's just the truth. There was this certain level of chemistry that you had in 2024 with Iglesias without Soto that's just not here anymore. I am not a psychologist. I don't pretend to be, but I have a little background in sociology, and I'm going to tell you what I think based off my personal opinion. Soto shook things up, and I'm not particularly certain that it was for the better from a chemistry standpoint, but now he's here to stay. So unfortunately, I'm not saying you need to cater to him or build around him, but I'm saying some significant changes are going to have to happen for this team to glue the way that they did last year.
I agree. And additionally, I think you need to look at it if you're David Stearns. I guess from where I'm coming from is, sure, you need to shake things up, but this is a team that has good players on it. Mm-hmm. This is a team, you're going to blow it up, great. Send some of the expendable guys, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, some of the position players that are on the younger side, fine. Ship those guys off. I'm fine with that. Some of the relief pitchers we don't want back, even some of the starters. Kodai Senga, I don't really care if you trade Kodai Senga right now. But I guess what I'm saying is you can't be reckless with it, right? Like a trade shipping off Lindor or something of that realm will be reckless. Maybe not re-signing Pete Alonso is reckless. Maybe not re-signing Edwin Diaz is reckless. You have a team here that has very talented players on it, all-stars, guys in the MVP conversation. I mean, so what I'm saying is, yeah, you need to blow it up, but you need to blow it up with caution.
Blow it up with caution.
It's not an uncontrolled demolition. This is a controlled demolition. And that's what I have to say.
A controlled explosion.
Me at work every day. All right.
No, that's so true.
I'm about to go stand outside in the snow and talk about Syracuse basketball. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
What is the point?
The point is that Ariel Epstein had the best tweet of all time. That's how I'm going to wrap this up.
Okay.
By saying a friend of the program, she went to Syracuse and stuff, does sports betting. She does, if you don't want to be number 2 in New York, stop taking number 2 players in New York. That really sums it all up because Devin Williams is the number 2.
Sheesh.
So if Edwin Diaz goes and walks off to California,
she's gonna have a crash
I'm gonna
out.
collect myself.
That was a deep breath right there.
I'm gonna collect myself.
Heard that one through the mic. Okay, let's just check out our notes, make sure there's nothing else that we need to discuss on this before we move on to some other interesting drama. You have a little interesting nugget section. That seems interesting. The list of players the Mets have now taken from the Yankees under Steve Cohen is starting to get lengthy.
it is.
You have Devin Williams, Juan Soto, Frankie Montas, Luis Severino, Luis Torrens, Harrison Bader. Oh my God, I forgot about some
Adam
of these.
Ottavino. Forget about, not even to mention the manager, Carlos
my
Mendoza.
God.
Not even to mention if they sign Cody Bellinger, who they've been heavily linked to lately, that would be another Yankee coming across town. It's interesting.
Honestly, looking at that list, more good than bad.
Yeah, more have panned out. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm not even saying that in a positive or negative way. I just genuinely think that's interesting. Steve Cohen has made a priority of cherry-picking people from the Bronx.
You know, you can say a lot of things, but there is a reason why we've never sat at this table and blamed it or said it was Steve Cohen's fault. The success or failure of this team is obviously dependent on what Steve Cohen does. But if there is one person who I am going to blame last, it is honestly going to be him. Yeah. I think he is tremendous. And I want to just make sure that I reaffirm my commitment to Steve Cohen today. Steve Cohen, you are doing a great job.
I agree. We're in a committed relationship with Steve Cohen. David Stearns, on the other hand, feeling wary. There's a few red flags
David Stearns, situationship. Steve Cohen, married. Okay.
Okay. We love Alex Cohen, by the way.
Married to her, too. All right. Last thing. Discussing the drama from last week. There's always so much drama in sports.
The New York
Men
Post,
are so much drama.
One thing about the New York Post little exclusive section, which, by the way, this article did get me to sign up for the free trial for.
Really?
That's how badly I wanted to read it. We'll be canceling that free trial the minute they start to charge my card. Anyway, they have something going there. Mike Puma really stirring up the tea. Really detailed.
You know, he does that from time to time.
Mike Puma is a fly on the wall. Really detailed the fact that Francisco Lindor and Jeff McNeil still don't like each other, which came as a shock to approximately no one.
McNeil is just not someone who I want on
I
the
hesitate
New York
to
Mets.
call him a cancer.
I was going to say that, and then I stopped myself.
Point.
That was the exact word that came to mind. And I was like, nah, that's probably too dramatic. But he's just not that dude. He doesn't have the New York Mets culture. Lindor, that is, I think, the hard part, is that what I want is for everyone to blindly follow Lindor into the fire. I want to have the kind of team
into
that is led in maybe into the sunset.
Nicer.
Right?
Yeah.
It really could be. I want everybody to blindly follow Francisco Lindor to success, because I think that he is actually a true born leader, and he leads by example, but he also leads vocally. I just wonder whether or not that's going to be able to happen with this group. But the point is, shipping off McNeil anywhere would be a positive move that you can make for this team.
I warned Jeff the other day, it is time to put the house up for sale, start looking at schools. I don't know what you need to do with the kids, with the wife, but it's time to get the bags packed. So this article was basically going into, it was like in June in Philadelphia. Lindor at some point began verbally attacking McNeil, according to a source, leading to what was described as a tense standoff between the two.
That was in the midst. Source? Like, I'm just curious, who actually witnesses this?
Okay, this is conspiracy. Label it as conspiracy. But was it Brandon Nimmo? This article came out like 2 days after Nimmo was traded.
That's interesting.
Makes you think.
It does.
Anyways, they were like in the middle of losing 7 straight, whatever. The source said a play didn't get made and that pissed Lindor off. And then they get into stuff about Soto. Also, never forget Raccoon and that whole scandal a few years ago. I mean, Lindor and Jeff McNeil have not liked each other for years at this point, and they're like the double play duo. Like, it seems like it just wouldn't work. Another clubhouse source indicated that relations between Lindor and Juan Soto were chilly. Soto is, quote, very businesslike, all business, no fluff. He wants to come to the yard and work his tail off and win games. He's not into fashion or any of that other stuff. Lindor is into that. It's just two different personalities. Now, first of all, when I read this article, I was like, can we leave the fashion out of it? Francisco Lindor looks great. Okay, like, the fashion, maybe Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto are fire and ice, but I don't really give a damn about fashion right now.
Grown men are writing this and putting it into print.
Grown men.
Grow up. Get a grip. Come on. So what if they're into different things? Lindor has a great fashion sense, and
you know what?
He's emotionally intelligent.
For the record, I could see them being they just seem like they have two very different lives, right? Soto's still on the younger side. He's in New York. He's like whatever. Francisco Lindor is like a family man with 3 kids and a wife at home. I could see it being two different personalities, but leave the fashion out of it. Anyway, he then went on to say there are questions over who exactly was leading the team. Soto hardly dispelled that notion with his assertion late in the season that Starling Marte was the team captain. Now, this we've touched on. Soto is really, really under Starling Marte's wing and a proponent of bringing Starling Marte back. He was quoted as saying, Marte is literally the leader of this team. I feel like he's actually the captain of this team. He's bringing everybody together. He's bringing the energy that we need. He's a guy who's been stepping up every single time. It doesn't matter what. He's actually the real deal of the team. He's the model of the team. Everybody, when they want to talk and get to know something or have a conversation, they can go to him. He's actually the real deal. Now, first of all, Juan Soto just repeated himself about 67 times.
Right.
I don't know what sort of what he's lobbying for here. I guess maybe it's for Marte to stay. I don't know. It does seem, I mean, that amount of saying literally the leader of the team, he's actually the captain. I'm not going to lie to you. That does feel a little pointed.
Also, that's sketchy. I love Starling Marte as much as the next person. He is not the captain of the team.
Starling Marte is like the fun uncle that you get drunk with at Thanksgiving in the corner.
Starling Marte is Unc, and we have known that for a long time.
Fun Unc.
Fun uncle.
But
like, that's just it.
Yeah.
He's not, no. Like, that could be someone who Soto is going to for insight. I actually think he is definitely someone who's a clubhouse guy. I think he brings something really significant to the team. But he's like not the leader, and I don't really understand that. That kind of upsets me, and it goes back to what I've been trying to say all along. Something weird here is happening with LINDOR and SOTO, and I'm saying before SOTO got here, everybody did follow LINDOR, and it was evident to the fans that he should be the next captain. The fans, in part, felt that way because of his character and personality, but also in part felt that way because we could all see that the players were following him. What changed this year? SOTO.
That's what I mean. I don't give a damn if that's true or not about Marte. Marte could be great with mentoring guys. I don't really know.
He seems
I
like he
don't
would
really
be.
care. More so what I took out of that quote was Juan Soto going that far out of his way to dispel the notion that anybody else is the captain or the leader. And obviously the first name there is Francisco Lindor. I agree.
I don't even think SOTO wants to be the captain, so why does he even care?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
The culmination of this conversation is I do think some tense, tumultuous stuff is kind of going on with LINDOR and SOTO. Because, I mean, obviously also that would explain, all right, you have clubhouse and chemistry culture problems last year. Well, who are the two guys at the front of that line? SOTO and LINDOR.
They got to figure it out. They got to work it out because they're there.
Because they're in a long-term relationship.
I mean, 100%. Like that. And I know that like some people don't buy into this the way I buy into this. But if you look at the 2024 Mets compared to the 2025 Mets, the way that those seasons ended was significant.
Significant.
And the 2025 Mets had more talent on their roster. You decide why it happened. But I think that chemistry and culture was a big part of it. And it's a big part of the reason why you get some of those late rallies. Do they need a guy like Iglesias, a little spark plug, a glue guy? I'm fine with that. It was a mistake for them to not sign him again. They should have signed him for another year. And I'm so annoyed about that still now.
On the bright side, maybe that's Simeon. Maybe that's what he brings to the table.
You know what? Maybe it is because I've been hearing great things about him from a clubhouse standpoint. If that is what he brings and he's able to somehow mend the relationship between SOTO and LINDOR, then he was worth every penny, in my opinion.
I totally agree. We'll see what happens. Winter meetings this weekend. I would like to say that that's probably going to get a lot of other balls rolling. So that's that.
We'll see you when the next big thing happens. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great week.